All right, we've got some breaking news for you. It's just come in. President Trump saying he wants a straight 50% tariff on the EU beginning. First it was Apple, and then later he sort of grouped in more smartphone companies. Why Apple initially, do you think, with the Truth Post earlier today? President Trump a short time ago telling Walmart that the company should, quoting, now eat the cost and, quote, of higher tariffs. The comments come after the retail giant said this week that it would raise prices because of Trump's tariffs being too high. Walmart has more than 4,600 stores in the US. It's also the biggest private employer in the country, with 1.6 million workers. It began with a whisper: quiet corporate meetings, silent pauses in shipment flows, closed-door calls between Washington and Bentonville. Then the headlines dropped. Walmart, the largest retailer in the United States, is sounding the alarm. Prices are about to rise. Imports are about to collapse. And the nation's most powerful store is quietly rewiring its entire supply chain to survive a tariff storm it did not create, but now must outrun. This is not about one store. This is not about one policy. This is about the fragile infrastructure that feeds American families, keeps the shelves stocked, and anchors an economy that lives paycheck to paycheck. Today, May 23, 2025, the American consumer is standing at the edge of a cliff. And behind them is Walmart, Ross, and Apple, all watching the same thing: a trade war accelerating into a retail quake. Before we continue, hit that like button to help us beat the YouTube algorithm and to show your support. Doug McMillon, Chief Executive Officer of Walmart, did not speak in sound bites. He did not spin. He told investors this week bluntly that the price increases were unavoidable given the magnitude of the tariffs. He said, "We are no longer able to absorb all the pressure." His message was clear. Everything is about to get more expensive. Everyday items, grocery staples, household essentials, clothing, toys. Prices will rise not because Walmart is greedy, but because Washington has declared economic war on imports and the battlefield is 9. These tariffs are not abstract. They are direct taxes on products coming into the country, products Walmart relies on to fill over 4,000 stores. Tariffs of 25% on goods from China, from Europe, from Mexico, even from Canada. And now the retaliations are spreading. China has responded with a fresh wave of counter-tariffs. Mexico has raised duties on American packaged goods. Europe is preparing its own retaliation. And the consumer, they are stuck in the middle. Walmart is not sitting idle. Behind the scenes, it has launched a silent counter-offensive, not in Congress, but in the warehouse. The company has begun rewriting its supply strategy, pivoting away from tariff-heavy materials like aluminum and shifting toward alternatives that remain exempt. Insiders say this is one of the largest behind-the-curtain logistics shakeups in Walmart's modern history, not because they want to, but because they have to. Because if they do not adapt now, they may soon lose control of their pricing power. And when Walmart loses control of pricing, every corner store in America follows. But Walmart is not the only retailer under siege. Just hours after Walmart's announcement, Ross Stores, a pillar of the discount fashion world, made a move that rattled the financial world. It withdrew its entire fiscal forecast for the year. A company that relies on predictable margins and stable import flows suddenly told Wall Street that it can no longer guarantee anything. The reason? Trade policy. The company sources more than 50% of its merchandise from Chinese factories, with tariffs pushing the price of those goods up by double digits. Ross is now caught between a shrinking margin and a customer base that cannot afford even $1 more. The consequences were instant. Ross shares collapsed 11% in extended trading. Analysts issued emergency notes to investors, calling the situation potentially explosive. Executives tried to calm the panic, but their own statements told the story. Chief Executive Officer Jim Conroy admitted that inflation and trade tensions had made the company's entire planning model obsolete. They were now operating conservatively, trying to navigate a marketplace where the rules changed weekly. Before we continue, hit that subscribe button to show your support to the channel. And then came Apple. On Friday morning, President Donald Trump stood before cameras and issued a threat with global implications. If Apple does not move iPhone production to the United States, he said a 25% tariff will be imposed, the deadline immediate. The enforcement total. And just like that, the world's most valuable company found itself in a showdown with the White House. Apple has spent decades building an intricate supply chain rooted in China, India, and Southeast Asia. None of its flagship iPhones are made on US soil. Not yet. The market's response was swift. Apple's stock dipped nearly 4% in pre-market trading. Investors braced for an expensive relocation battle. Analysts said a 25% tariff would either have to be absorbed by Apple, wiping out billions in profit, or passed to consumers, raising iPhone prices by over $200. The tech world watched in disbelief. This was not just a tariff. It was a challenge to Apple's identity, a demand to rebuild its supply empire inside American borders. And if Apple bends, who will be next? Behind the headlines, a deeper crisis is spreading. A CNBC report today showed that despite a brief 90-day truce negotiated earlier this month, which temporarily rolled back tariffs from 145% to 30% on some goods, supply chains remain broken. One major Chinese supplier for Walmart and Target told reporters they had cut production by 70% and laid off over 100 workers. Their only hope is to relocate to Vietnam before they run out of cash. If nothing changes, the manager said, we will be crippled. Other suppliers are not even trying to move. They are simply shutting down. And that means the next wave of impact will not be tariffs. It will be shortages, not enough inventory, not enough parts, not enough options. In the past, companies would simply shift suppliers. But now, with tariffs expanding across entire continents, there is nowhere left to run. The shelves may not be empty yet, but insiders say by fall, Walmart and others could face real stocking issues. That means less choice, higher prices, longer wait times, and a consumer backlash that could shake the entire economy. This is the domino effect of protectionism, and it is just beginning. Ross is already pulling back orders. Walmart is changing its sourcing structure. Apple is facing forced production reshoring. Now, even trucking companies and logistics firms are warning that cross-border shipments are slowing. At the Port of Long Beach, shipping traffic is down 20% from just 2 months ago. At the Port of Savannah, container processing times have doubled due to routed goods and customs backlogs. Tariffs are not just taxes, they are traffic jams. And in retail, delays are death. And the political response, that depends on which side you ask. President Trump insists that tariffs are necessary to rebalance trade and bring manufacturing home. His advisors say the long-term benefits will outweigh the short-term pain, but Democratic governors from New York, Michigan, and Illinois, all states with massive retail workforces, are now calling for an emergency rollback of the newest tariff wave. In a joint statement released this morning, they warned that continued escalation could cost the U.S. economy more than $180 billion in consumer activity over the next year. Retail executives, meanwhile, are trying to remain calm. Walmart is not slamming the White House, but it is also not hiding its warning. Ross is not attacking the president, but it is also not pretending this is normal. And Apple is quietly preparing for a drawn-out battle. Internally, it has already begun reviewing secondary suppliers in the US and Mexico. But insiders say a full transition could take years and cost tens of billions. And during that time, the iPhone, the most valuable consumer product in the world, could become the most expensive casualty of a trade war no one voted for. This is not politics. This is reality. And the longer the tariffs remain, the more these dominoes fall, suppliers shut down, products vanish, prices rise, and the retail system, a system that millions rely on, begins to buckle under the weight of a trade policy that sees every import as a threat and every export as leverage. Walmart is still open, Ross is still running, Apple is still selling. But beneath the surface, every one of these giants is now moving, pivoting, and recalculating because they know what is coming. The question is whether Washington knows it too. Stay sharp, stay skeptical, and stay ready.